Many Americans may not be aware that Asian Americans face the same kinds of discrimination that African Americans face in the period of Brown, and that the decision in Brown, in fact, overturned the legal segregation of Asian American children at the same time as it overturned segregation of African American children. Racial discrimination is a very personal thing to me because it's something that my parents experienced and I experienced when I was young. My parents were Japanese American. They were both born here, and yet they were interned during World War II simply because of their race. And that internment was upheld by the Supreme Court. And it's remarkable that a little more than a decade later, the Supreme Court started to understand that such racial distinctions was wrong and delivered a unanimous decision in Brown. The Brown decision was also a precursor to a very important decision for Asian and Latino children. It's the 30th anniversary of Lau versus Nichols, which looked at the issue of how immigrant children who could not speak English well were being educated. The school districts tried to claim that they were doing an adequate job by simply throwing these children into schools without preparing them to learn to speak English. And the Supreme Court held, partly because of Brown, that that was not acceptable, that you had to really provide true education. The Asian American community owes a lot to the pioneers in the civil rights movement, the African Americans who were courageous enough to stand up and bring a case like Brown through the courts, and to the justices in the Supreme Court who had the courage to swim against public opinion and lay down a mandate that all children should be treated equally. I think what has been challenging for Napulsi's work is there is a misconception in the general public that Asian Americans are doing universally well in our educational system. And sadly, that's not true. Our community is, in fact, extremely diverse in terms of ethnicity and in terms of employment and academic achievement. In fact, Southeast Asians who mainly came as refugees have poverty rates as high as 25 and 50%. And they are often in our poorest schools, which are often the most segregated schools, and therefore unable to receive the kinds of quality education that we as Americans would like to promise to all of our children.